There's an airplane coming for us. Oh boy. Let's have a talk, Muse. If I could tell you what question I received more than any other question since I've become a writer, it's this. How do you keep from quitting? And I've addressed this question numerous times with our little discussions. But I find it's a pretty important one to have every so often, because there are a lot of artists out there who are so ready to give up. And just this week, the question hit me a few times from other people. Let's talk about it. The desire is there. It always is there. The questions, the doubt. But it almost always boils down to one thing, especially with authors, especially with modern authors. And that thing is the inability to sell a book. That's right. It comes down to whether or not consumers are willing to purchase your product. Now, this is a problem that every business across the globe faces, especially now, because there's so much competition in every sector of every business across the globe. And businesses don't know what to do. They're struggling. They're struggling to figure out how to market what they have. I write about this a lot. And the conclusion to draw is that nobody knows what to do. And a big part of the blame lies on the shoulders of social media. And that's very simple. Because of social media, fewer and fewer people are actually going to bother with websites. So instead of when you want to investigate a product, instead of going to the product's website, you might go to the product's Facebook page, or you might go to Twitter to find out what Twitter people are saying about the product. And there's my heat. That's what happens when you have these conversations in a basement. So then the problem is confounded by the fact that social networking platforms are lousy for marketing. They truly are. And it's mostly because everybody's doing it. You can, every day, when I pop onto Facebook or Twitter or whatever, I see ads for various products, and they're almost always the same. One day I'll get a deluge of ads that are all the same products. They may as well all be the same products. They may as well all be manufactured by the same company, but they're not. Or maybe they are, they're just sold by third parties. I don't know. But the problem is that we can't market. We don't know how to market. And even the professionals, the people with degrees in marketing, haven't the slightest idea what to do. And if they don't know what to do, how can you expect yourself, someone who doesn't have a degree in marketing, how can you expect you to be able to successfully market what you have? And so anybody that places, that equates success to sales as an artist is going to struggle daily. So to most people, what I say when they come to me asking, how do you keep from quitting? One of the first things I say to them is you need to readjust how you define success. And if you conclude that the only definition for success for you is to become a best-selling author who can rely solely on income from book sales to earn a living, then you are going to struggle mightily. Because the truth of the matter is, at this point in time, there aren't a whole lot of authors out there who are making a living solely as an author. And if they are, they probably have a spouse, a significant other, or someone to help them along the way. And that's the truth. Yes, there are those writers out there, the Stephen Kings, that, they're good to go. And they will be good to go for a very long time. But the majority of writers out there, not so much. Now, early on in my career as a writer, this hit me a lot. Like, daily. And I struggled with whether or not I had it in me to continue going forward. I truly didn't know. Because I didn't know what success meant as an author. I knew what success meant as an actor. And I had achieved a modicum of success as an actor. So I thought, if my definition of success as an actor could be applied to being a writer, then I was golden. But here's the problem. My definition of success as an actor was this, that I made a living as an actor, solely as an actor. And I did that for almost 20 years. Now, I could put living in quotes, but we're not going to go that route. I made my living as an actor. I paid all my bills. I put food on my table. That's what I did. Now, applying that as a writer now is hard. It wasn't so hard 5-10 years ago. Because 5-10 years ago, I was successfully paying my bills as a writer. And I still do today. But here's the thing. I have moments in my career that better define who I am as a writer. And I had one the other day, and I'm going to tell you about it. As you may or may not know, I wrote a play. I've written a number of plays, but I've recently wrote a new play called I Profundus, which is a one-person show based on Oscar Wilde's time in Reading jail. I was commissioned to write this play. And I was a bit nervous about writing this play because I knew the challenges would be great. Because I had to write in such a way that it sounded like my words were Oscar Wilde's words. And Wilde has a very particular way of writing. So, it also happens along the way that the theater company that commissioned me to write the play asked me to direct the play because they knew I was very close to the source material and that I could bring a certain level of thought and heart and soul to the product, to the play. So I said yes. Now, I hadn't directed anything for a very long time, but I knew the material. I knew the actor that was going to play Oscar Wilde. And we had a really good working relationship. So I thought, sure, I can do this. Because mostly what this actor was going to need me to do was to draw pictures on the stage to make sure that it looked good. Turns out, I was going to be doing more than that, and I was fine with that. But here's the thing. The other day, we're in rehearsal. We're both fully vaccinated, so yay. We're in rehearsal, and I had this moment. And I hesitate to share it with you because I don't want it to come off the wrong way. But I had this moment where it was at the end of Act 2. It's a 3-act play. It was at the end of Act 2. And I was filled. I was absolutely filled with this emotion. And it came out like this. The actor stopped. I looked at the actor and I said, I fucking wrote that. I apologize for the language, but that's what I said. I was so proud of the script that I had written that I could not stop myself from saying, I fucking wrote that. And that, my friends, is how I define my success as a writer. That I can read or I can experience something that I've written and be so filled with pride that that kind of statement comes out of me. And days after that, I'm going to be writing the fourth book in the Reaper series. I thought the series was going to stay at a trilogy, and I thought I was done, but it's really popular. People really love the series, and people have been asking me to go back to that series. And the publisher wants me to do that as well. So I thought, sure, I'm going to go back and write that because I really enjoyed writing that series, and it's a very unique take on the Grim Reaper. But it has been a very long time since I've written that trilogy. So I had to go back and read the third book in the series, For Whom the Reap Tolls. And I'm reading it now. But as I'm reading that third book in the series, because it's been so long since I've written it, I am really and truly and honestly enjoying it. I got to step back so far away from that book that when I approached it again, I had no idea what was happening in the book. I completely forgot so many elements of it. And so there are times when I'm reading this book, I am grinning ear to ear thinking, I wrote this. And you know what, people, artists out there, I know that there's a certain stigma attached to this, but be proud of what you've done. Be proud of what you've accomplished. Let it be okay, even if it's just inside in your little personal space, for you to reread something that you've done and be thrilled about it. Let it be okay for it to move you to say, I fucking wrote this. And when that happens to you, stop and appreciate it. And understand what it means. That you've accomplished something. And that the very idea that you have approved of something that you have written, that you enjoyed your own words, should tell you more than a book sale would. Now, I know that we're all biased. Every time I finish a new book, my first thought is, this is going to be the one. Now, I don't really do that anymore because I had done it so many times, and it just became a pointless exercise. But even though we're biased, if we can, after we put some distance between our work, or we get to experience someone else reading our work to us, as in a play, we are perfectly capable of knowing when something really works. Because we've read so many other books, we've watched so many other plays, we've seen so much television and film that we know the signs of when something works. We know the telltale signs. The billboards are all there on the highway. So when you're reading your own work, and those signs are there, accept them for what they are. In the end, the crux of this issue is that you've got to redefine what you call success. Now, your idea of success may very well be selling thousands of books a day. We all hope and dream about that. That's the goal. The goal is to become rich and famous and be able to not be able to step out of our homes without being mobbed by a crowd for autographs and blah, blah, blah. We all want to be household names. We all want to be the next Stephen King, or even beyond Stephen King. But we live in a different time now. I don't know if there will ever be another Stephen King, simply because of what the industry has become. And partially because of that, we all have to redefine what success is to us. Now, the other thing you have to understand is we should be our own harshest critics. So when you're rereading your work and you say, I fucking wrote this, take a step back and say, am I being realistic? Are my expectations realistic? Am I really judging this with an unbiased opinion or an unbiased eye? Now, it does help when there's been a year or two since you've written a book, so you can then go back and reread it, not knowing what happens. It's easier to be unbiased that way. But how do you keep from stopping? How do you keep from giving up? You ask yourself, can I not do this? What becomes of me if I don't create art? If that fills you with absolute dread, if the idea of never creating a new piece of work again makes you want to shrivel up and die or hide under the covers, then you have your answer. You can't quit. However, if you ask that question of yourself and you're like, well, if I quit, I'll find something else, then quit. Whenever I have ever taught young artists, I've always said, this has to be something you absolutely must do. Because you certainly don't do it for the money. You do it for the love of doing it. And there's your answer. I absolutely adore creating, whether it be on stage or on the page. I adore it, and I cannot not do it. And I will continue doing it until the day I die. My guess is on my deathbed, I will type the end, and then I'll end it. Then I'll be done. My heart will stop, and that's it. But that's me. You've got to figure out what it is for you. And no matter what you decide, do know this, that you, my friend, are awesome.